Okay, good afternoon, girls. Welcome back after the Easter holidays. I hope you're all well. We're just going to continue on today with some area and perimeter questions. And just in preparation for the questions I'm going to ask you to do from the textbook, I just want to go through one of the textbook questions with you. It's question 9 on page 201. Now, it's a question where, if you have your book ready, you are asked, you're given a picture, I suppose, of a rectangular garden with the dimensions of the garden. It's 16 meters long and 8 meters wide, and it has a pathway going all the way around the garden, and the path, we're told, is 1 meter wide. So we could say that from here to here also is 1 meter, and the same goes from here to here. So it's 1 meter all the way across. Now my drawing isn't to scale, so don't worry too much about that. Okay, so when doing these questions, I just wanted to highlight today that there are usually two methods for area questions. Usually one which involves subtracting areas, and then one which involves adding areas, and either one is just as good, and it's down to your own personal preference which one you choose. So I'm going to solve this problem using two different methods. So what we were asked to do here was to find the area of the footpath, or the path that goes around the garden. Okay, so the first method I'm going to use, I'm going to call it method 1, is subtracting areas. Subtracting areas. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the area of the entire garden, the grass including the footpath, so this large rectangle here, and then I'm going to get the area of the garden on the inside here, this smaller rectangle, and I'm going to subtract the area of the smaller rectangle from the area of the bigger rectangle, and what I should be left with is the area of the path. So that's my first method. Okay, so if I want to find the area of the large rectangle first, I'm going to have to find the dimensions of the large rectangle, and the dimensions are the length and the width. Now we know if the length of this is 16 meters and the path is 1 meter wide, then it's another meter, 1 meter across there, and it's another 1 meter over here. So in total, this length of the larger rectangle is 16 plus 1, which is 18 meters. So I'm just going to write that down up here, 18 meters. And the same goes down the side for the width of the large rectangle. Well, we know if this is 8 meters and it's another 1 meter up here, the width of the path, and another 1 meter down here, the width of the path again, then 8 plus 1 is 10 meters. That is the width of the large rectangle. So if we have the length and the width of the large rectangle, we can just find, we'll say, area, we'll call it total area. Total area is equal to length by width, so 18 multiplied by 10, which is equal to 180. And when we're getting a solution, we can leave out units of measure when we're doing our calculations, but when we're getting any of our solutions, we should write our units of measure. So that's meters squared, because it's an area. Okay, next thing is we want to find the area of the smaller rectangle, the garden in the middle here, and that's fairly straightforward because we have the length and the width already, so I'm going to call it the garden area. And that's equal to 16 meters multiplied by 8 meters. So 16 eighths are 48, 128, isn't it? And again, meters squared, our unit of measure. So if we have the big rectangles area, the small rectangles area, if we subtract this or take this bit away from the big, we should be left with the path all the way around. So all I'm going to do is put a line under here, subtract, and what's that? That's 52 meters squared, and I'm going to say that's area of path. So you should always label your answer correctly as well. Don't just leave it as 52 meters squared somewhere on the page, letting the person reading it guess what it's supposed to mean. Okay, give it its correct title. That's the area of the path. That's our solution. Okay, so that was subtracting areas. We got one large area, we subtracted a smaller area, and we got our answer. The second method I want to go through is adding areas. And as I say, in a lot of cases, in most cases I dare say, you can use either method, either subtracting areas or adding areas. Okay, so what we're going to want to do is, going back to our diagram again, instead of using our subtracting method, we're going to forget about this garden in the middle altogether, and we're just going to break the path into 4 different regular shapes, rectangles, and then we're going to get the area of each and add them together. So what we could do is draw a line here, solid line here, and that's one rectangle we have there. Draw another line here, another line here, and we have a second rectangle here, and a third rectangle, and a fourth rectangle. So if I got the area of this rectangle, and this rectangle, and added them all together, I'd have the area of the footpath. Okay, so just for the sake of making my notation easier, I'm going to call this area A1, this one A2, this one A3, and this one A4. Okay, so finding the area of each of them, A1 is equal to, let's see now, A1 is this big rectangle. We've already discovered that it's 18 meters long. We know that it's 1 meter in width, if you like. I'll write that out there. So the rectangle's area is 18 by 1. So if we put that down here, 18 by 1 is 18 meters squared. Okay. Then area 2 is, well, we know that 8 meters there is the same as this 8 meters here. So it's 8 meters by 1 meter across. So that's 8 by 1 will give us an area of 8 meters squared. Okay, so the next rectangle is A3, and we know that's the exact same size rectangle. It has the same area as the area A1. So what we'll do is we'll write it down here. A3 is equal to the same as A1, same dimensions, it's 18 by 1 meters squared. And then back up here for the last rectangle, A4, and that has the same, even though my drawing isn't great, it doesn't look like it has the same dimensions, but it's 8 by 1 across again, so it's the same as A2. So A4 is equal to 8 by 1, which is equal to 8 meters squared. And now instead of subtracting any areas, we're going to be adding. So taking the 4 of them together, 4 8s are 32, and 3 left over, so 3, 4, 5, it's 52 meters squared, the same answer as we got up here. So we'll write again, area of path, 52 meters squared. So just to wrap up, I guess, what I'd like to say is that sometimes one method is easier than the other. I think definitely the subtracting in this case was the easier method, but that won't always be the case. So it's okay to try one method, maybe get bogged down, and then try the other method as you go through these questions. You will start to get a sense of which one is easier before you start then after you've practiced a few of these questions. Okay, thanks.